Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show coming at you after the Cavaliers battled with the Celtics in Boston. Crazy wild game, and thanks for joining us. As always, I'm also joined by Andrew Combo Salop to discuss the latest and greatest in this game and whatever else you want to talk about. So, Combo, crazy game. What do you think?
Crazy game, crazy nightcap. Here we go with B-Ball Breakdown. We're usually here in the middle of the day, but it's good to be here at night. I think if these two teams actually got into series, it would go long. I mean, I think it would be a long series because Darius Garland didn't play that well, and even though D. Mitch's stats look pretty good, he didn't play that well either, in my opinion. Like there was a couple of shots that he usually makes that he didn't, and also they're missing a Okoro who could guard some of the Celtics' better players. So with all those problems and the Cavs still being in the game towards the end, I thought it was a pretty good sign for Cleveland.
I agree. I think that not having Okoro was also a thing because the defense got tilted a little out of whack where they were able to have more players to target, specifically the Celtics. They had a good game plan to do that. And certainly I think that Coach VG made a good point maybe late in the third where the Celtics were up by 12 made threes by the end of the third quarter, something crazy, and they were only up by 3. And that's got to be concerning because when you have that big of a lead from 3, like you should be winning 95% of those games. So what do you think was keeping them? What do you think was keeping them in the game throughout that stretch of getting outscored from the 3-point line so severely?
What do you think it was?
Well, obviously, the 2-pointers, they were getting inside. They were able to score. I think that Donovan Mitchell, like going off in that third quarter, he was terrific then, had a big thing to do with it. And then that said, at some point they cooled down a little bit. But if you want to talk about why they were making so many threes in the first place, we can kind of get into that too, because the defense, and again, Okoro, not to say that he's like this, major piece, but the rotations were just off, and they had guys that were helping one pass away. Like I would say, of their 23 threes that they made 16 to 23, something like that. 19 of them were like wide open, and they were helping one pass away. They were screwing up handoffs and not switching properly. They weren't switching pick and rolls that well, and then they were using the roll man, the Celtics, as far as using the pick and roll, hitting the short roll, and then they would force rotation down and then kick out to the corners. So it was just way too easy for the Celtics to run their offense and just play basically like a shoot around, get those threes.
Yeah, I agree with you with the Okoro thing. The only thing is that the Celtics could play the same game, right? Like we don't have Porzingis, and that changes their defense, and that changes their team on both sides of the floor. He's probably their most unique player. And if both teams in full health, I still got the Celtics, but yeah. So you don't hear me. You don't hear me through my mic. You're saying,
yeah. You're using your computer mic and not the nice good mic. Sounds better. So I know you can do it. So everyone's cheering for you in the comments. So the other thing I thought was interesting was that Darius Garland did not handle the speed of the team defense of the Celtics very well at all. He was just off. Somebody mentioned to me, I must have missed this. He tweaked a little ab pain or something like that in the last game. He might not have been 100%, but I still don't think it matters as far as like how he was dealing with that speed. They were rotating. They were on top of him. It was really hard for him as one of a smaller guard. So that was a big issue as well, that like obviously he'll play better over the course of a 7-game series, for instance. And they needed him to play, just a little bit better, and they could have pulled that game out. But like you said, Porzingis is what tilts this thing way in the Celtics' favor if they're all both completely healthy. And let's see, I'll keep going until maybe you got it. You're unplugging things in, you're plugging it back in. What do you think? But you're muted, so maybe if you unmute, we'll find out if the mic is selected properly. The trials and travails of Combo.
We here? Can you hear me?
Are we better? I like it, but now wait, say something.
Mic check, mic check.
Yeah, okay, I think that's it. That's the one. Tap it for a second for me.
Boom, 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 boom.
Okay, good job. Good job. We got it. Oh, Dean Wade was out too, and that's another thing. That is important. Wade is another rotational player that gives them shooting, and he's also a very tough defender. They needed more defenders. At one point when you have Mitchell, Garland, and Ty Jerome out there down the stretch, like that's too many players they can attack and pick on.
Yeah. Also, the Celtics, man, the evolution of their offense is so amazing. Not only the 3-point shooting, but just less tough twos. I guess that has something to do with the 3-point shooting, but the ball movement, I feel like the offense is so much more spaced out than it used to be, like, let's say 3 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. And the Cavs were not getting that same spacing had gotten earlier in the year. They weren't really getting. Oh my God, Karis LeVert didn't play. Jeez Louise, forgive me. That's another huge one. So you know what? This would be a long series without question. They need to be. They all have to be 100%. So if Garland plays a little bit better, they could pull that out. If LeVert was playing, he would have been able to break down some of those really tough closeouts and stuff that we're offering and get some buckets, I think. So it was probably not, it wasn't obviously the most, unfortunately the Cavs couldn't show up completely healthy. That is too bad. They needed those guys, but then again, with KP out there and everybody healthy, Wade and, who am I forgetting? Thank you. Okoro. That's a big difference. Now, the other thing is that with KP playing, then Keita doesn't play, and he's not really an NBA player.
He has some good flashes, right? They spaced out the offense. Nice little lob from Jaylen Brown to him. He could finish.
Yeah, it's not. This is not his game. He could be okay against the bottom half of the league, but when you're playing a game like this, it's not his game. He just doesn't have enough skill, I don't think, to handle this. Yeah.
Also, D. Mitch, he gets whatever he wants, even against this great Boston Celtics offense, right? Like, he could have easily had 45.
What did he finish with? Let me get the box score.
Mid-30s.
Yeah. I mean, he was obviously vital. Like, they needed him because no one else was kind of bringing it at that point. Ty Jerome, though, also comes in and gives him a huge lift. I thought that was important.
You seen him bully Drew Holiday?
Yeah. I don't know if we call it a little spin and lay it in. Was that bullying him? All right.
He seemed pretty strong on it. Drew Holiday bounced off him.
Drew was trying to bully him. I'll tell you that was clear and couldn't get the advantage. So
and every team tries to bully Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah. Pritchard, it's tough, man. Like, it's really great to see his progression. Although I probably would argue he could have been doing this kind of thing like 2-3 years ago, and just would always get language on the bench. Like, just kind of forget about him. So it's great to see that they finally realize it. They can keep him in there and put him in and give him his regular minutes.
Well, I think coaches were scared that in the playoffs that he would get picked on. Like, I think that was the thing in the playoffs. Like, he always got more regular season minutes than he got minutes in the playoffs.
Fair enough. I have to check it, but I almost feel like there were moments like in the regular season too where he just goes these stretches where he doesn't get in.
Yeah, he is a young player too. It's only his third season.
Yeah. Well, that too, and then he is only his third season, not his fourth. Okay. But he's so good offensively now that whatever they try and get him on the defensive end, he can mitigate that and have a positive effect. It was interesting because they were trying to go at Merrill, who actually is a pretty good defender, and then on the flip side, Mitchell wanted to go at Hauser, who is generally a pretty good defender, very solid. He's tall, he's got good length. So that was interesting, strategy there. But let me get my notes out here because I had some other ideas here. But let's see here. Oh, and then Niang is moving a lot better. Like, his body, like, he's not exactly ripped and shredded, but he definitely looks better than he has been in the past. He's not had an athlete's body, right? His whole career. He's kind of like that Jared Dudley mode, right? You can be, he could shoot a little bit or he could shoot a lot. And
Boris Diaw,
right. But Diaw, by the way, was an elite athlete. Like, he in his flip-flops, he could touch the top of the backboard, some crazy like that. Like,
he was elite. He was elite. He was elite in every part of the game almost. He played 1 through 5 through the course of his career. Yeah.
But Niang, you would never say that about. But he just is moving a little bit better. It's good to see. He's going to get maybe 10-12% more explosion and quickness, and that's going to help him because then they won't necessarily completely attack him. Although they were, and you could see Brown was like, "I'm going to take you right to the rim," and that was part of the difference. There is some of those ISOs that Tatum could hit off the three were just ridiculous.
The Cavs have a lot of different ways to beat you on offense, not only the isolation of Darius and Donovan, but when they start moving the ball, the bigs just get easy lob threats and quick touch baskets. And I think that could be something that the Celtics could really struggle with guarding them in the playoffs, especially if they don't have Porzingis. Porzingis is a huge key in that.
I agree. I mean, it was weird because there were also moments where the Celtics defense was overwhelming the Cavs offense. Like, they couldn't get anything going, and they were forced to take long twos, and they were throwing the ball away.
More in the first half, right?
Yeah, and mostly in the first half, obviously when they built that lead. And, generally against an NBA team that's good, and we know the Cavaliers are very good, they'll adjust, they'll get used to it, and that doesn't always, sustain. Just like shooting the three like they did in the first half won't necessarily sustain either. They didn't hit, let's see, they had 14 in the first half. They finished with 22. So, you knew they weren't going to get another 14 in the second half, but they still shot 22 of 41. And compared to the 10 that the Cavs hit, that's the other thing that's a big difference is like if you're going to get outscored by the three. Now, I think the defense was terrible on a lot of those threes, but on some of them, once they let the Celtics get going, they hit a few that were really tough. And that's what happens when you let them get comfortable, you let them see the ball go through, then the other ones go in. The only way once that starts happening on that second part where they're hitting the tough threes is that you need to hit more threes of your own. And that's really what the Cleveland Cavaliers couldn't quite get to. Finished 10 for 29, 34.5%, which is respectable as a team, but they needed a few more and they couldn't get it.
I think you need more from Jared Allen too. I mean, we keep going back to Porzingis is out, but really like he should drop at least 15 and even some more assists to Mobley. Like, you only got 2 assists, 11 rebounds, I guess is okay. But I think you need a little bit more from Jared Allen in this game, especially with Darius Garland struggling. You need more from the front line.
The problem with Allen is that he doesn't create anything. So you know that the offense is working well when he does get, 15 points because
I see him create a nice spin move into I see them create a nice spin move into a right-hand shot on the left side. He could create a little bit.
It's created by like a drive and then a quick handout. Like they're not going to just sort of get him on a block, throw it down there.
Oh, who does that? Who does that in the NBA anymore?
Right. So he doesn't do that. That's why it's like if the guards are getting the penetration they want, then the direct result is Allen getting those buckets. And they were limiting that, so Allen wasn't getting the touches, he wasn't getting the scoring, but he had the team worst -16. And there was no question that they went to one big, and that was what gave them some runs. With Mobley being the big, that they found a little thing that unlocked them. And then they brought Allen in and put Mobley at the bench, and then that can continue to go well for them. So there's something about Allen and Mobley in there together that was a bigger problem for them. And Mobley offensively, by the way, he had a decent game. He had 22 points and 11 boards, 6 assists. So he did play pretty well, and he had 8 for 13 from the field. He's still not quite. He's gotten better. He's better than he was last year. I'm really glad to see that he got. There's more progression there. I just think that he's still not quite. He's still not polished as much as he needs to be for a team as a starter in that position. He needs to get better. He's got the jump hook over the left shoulder down pretty well, but he needs more polishing down there for sure and drives.
Maybe a more consistent mid-range jumper and take it more, or shoot the ball. Yeah. Especially because he's a hub, as a hub, even in the high post, you want to be able to, pop that and make some shots. But what was I wanted to ask you about Darius Garland. Do you feel like the Celtics stopped him, or it's just one of those off nights where he got to where he wanted to go, but just wasn't knocking down shots?
I think they sped him up. I think he looked like a guy who was not used to the kind of speed and rotations that the Celtics were throwing at him. I think they started out with Drew was on him, and that's a tall order. Drew is going to get you that way. He's going to get you out of sorts. So, chalk it up. Now, we've seen Garland. He's played playoff games. He knows what that's like. But tonight, for pretty much the whole night, it looked like he wasn't used to that. And so you're going to maybe say, great, this is his chance to get that experience and feel what it's like. And then, we'll see him back in Cleveland. And he'll be a lot better because he's got that, experience. But he's had that experience. So that was weird to me. All those things factoring in. If he was banged up, okay, maybe that was part of it. But again, he just, he got sped up and he was like shooting too quickly and he wasn't processing that kind of speed very well and just looked like a suboptimal non-all-star guard.
Porter Jr. is a good player.
Yeah, he was nice. A guy that they don't necessarily want to rely on as much as they had to if they had the regular start. He probably wouldn't get hardly any minutes, right? Obviously, if LeVert was playing. And Okoro, he probably wouldn't have seen the floor.
Well, I do think he's going to be one of those guards that could be a backup point guard for years to come. Yeah. I think he's going to be a good backup.
Yeah, I mean, he looks really polished. How many years did he play in college? I wonder. Let me see here. Where is he? Do you know, Craig Porter? Looks like he played at least a couple of years. And that's what it looks like for me. Let me see here. College. Yeah. Oh, he played 3 years at Wichita State. So
Yeah.
He definitely, and he's older, so that's another thing. He looks like a guy that they could rely on. Let me just check his game logs. I feel like I hadn't seen him. I mean, getting much run right when they're healthy, he's not. But it's good to know he's there and they can compete. But yeah, I know he gets his. He gets his 5, 6, 7 minutes there, here and there in spot duty. But people get banged up and then they'll give him a shot. So yes, I like the fact that he could get in there and compete pretty well and gave them a big boost. He was important.
Yeah. He dropped 15.
Yeah, is he tall? How tall is Craig Porter?
I think he's 6'3", 6'4".
They list him at 6'2". Okay.
Yeah. He plays bigger than that though.
Right.
You can't pick on him on defense. He plays like a big guard. He doesn't seem rattled when he gets to the rim.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Like I think Kenny will also take a lot away from this and looking at what they did and how they attacked. The Celtics really wanted to get in the short rolls. And draw two and then hit the short roller, which they are really good at, and they have the good spacing for all that. And then they were doing their own versions of cutting that the Cavaliers had been doing all year long. The Cavaliers have to kind of reassess, figure this out, and figure out how to unlock Donovan earlier and get him. I feel like Mitchell was off the ball a lot in the first half, right? And then they got him on ball, and he was creating that way, and that was unlocked more things for them, at least in that third quarter stretch where they got back in the game.
Yeah, but I think part of the reason they've had so much success this season is that both their guards have been able to play off the ball more, right? Evan Mobley pushing it up or either one of them pushing it up, and it's created some new looks for this team that they didn't have before because they were playing more stagnant last year.
Yeah, it's always great to be able to get the guards streaming out down the floor and then coming back for the ball. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Watch for the adjustment of picking up Mobley earlier and pressuring him in the backcourt. He's going to have to prove to me that he can handle that part of it cleanly because he's really long, really tall. That ball is dribbling. Like if they get somebody pressuring him, I want to see how he handles that because that's what I would do go to battle that. And that might be enough to kind of we'll have to see how that progresses. But right now, when I have seen him bring the ball up, it's been without too much pressure. And I think that the NBA is going to adjust to that.
Yeah, I'm sure he can improve upon that if he wants to, right? That's easy to drill out and get better at. Play one-on-one full court.
It should. I mean, I've been clamoring for him to improve all these little things in the margin details for a while now. So, but then again, it wasn't part of his game until now, bringing the ball up. So we'll see. But it definitely unlocks some stuff. It's like anybody else could do that. I mean, Okoro could he do that? I don't know. Or are they going to try and do some more three-guard lineups, and then you can have Ty Jerome bringing it up, but that's tough unless you want to go, Ty Jerome, Mobley, Ty Jerome, Mitchell, and Garland, and then you can put Mobley and Jared Allen together. So you kind of got big bigs and then small smalls mixed together. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's tough against the Celtics when their two best players are Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
Yeah. I mean, Tatum had a couple like step back threes that were crazy. You saw the one when went to timeout where did he push off or not?
Oh, the one, not the timeout. It went to halftime.
Oh, that was for halftime? Yeah. Okay, it was for halftime.
I don't think he pushed off. I loved how he brought it to his pocket, though. He kept it real close to the body. I thought his jump shot's looking good.
I mean, part of it, what it is, the right hand actually was like there was contact and he kind of pressed it down. Not out, but down, which is like legal. And so that's what made him go. And then Niang was the one who went flying on that when they won the call, which also brings up the thing that the Cavaliers did not handle the referees very well at all. Obviously, you're on the road. It's a big game. Like, the home team's going to get some calls probably. I thought that their response to a lot of that was really suboptimal. They were complaining, throwing up their arms, not getting back.
Both teams were complaining, though.
Both teams were complaining, but when you're up by 18-20 and you're complaining, okay, whatever. But I didn't feel like it was as much of a detriment to the Celtics tonight as it was for the Cavs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I felt like there were some missed calls, on both sides of the floor.
Yeah. I mean, and again, the refs wanted to let them play a little bit. There was a little contact maybe down low. They let go away. I wasn't ecstatic about Tatum's response to some of those and Brown. They got the ones I thought that they needed to get. Even like the Brown offensive foul when he tries to spin, he didn't even have to do that. He kind of waxed Garland in the neck. It was weird because he was back to the ball. The ball was protected. He was passing the ball out, and he still whacked him. So they got I think they got the ones they needed to get. And I don't think that was as much of an issue in terms of determining the game. But I do think that the Cavs let them get to them, and that was a problem.
Why'd you think that?
Well, because you could see how many times George Niang was really throwing up his arms, and Garland and Mitchell. At some point, like you got to just sort of play on. And one of them was, I know that Garland went to the basket, didn't get a call. And I don't think he deserved one. And then, just kind of ran back, didn't realize that Pritchard was his man who was open, and they threw it right to him for a three. That was big. Oh, I know. That was when Garland misses a layup because he tries to go left-handed on the right side and then slams off the backboard. That was just indicative of Garland's night all night. Like, he just was out of sorts. He got by, the guy flew by, he just needed to lay it in, then try and throw it lefty.
The one that he slowed down, right?
Yeah, he slowed down.
Yeah, he had
that killed him.
Well, he had no angle with the right hand because he was under the basket.
Yeah, I guess, but I think he could have leaned and finished. It was certainly a way awkward attempt at.
He tried to decelerate, like he slowed down.
Yeah. And again, it's just he was going too fast, and then he was going too slow, got a bad angle, blew the layup. You got to make that one. And then you got to get back and figure out who your man is too.
I think just great players have bad nights sometimes, and I think this is a team that he could do really well against in the right situation. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he drops 30 next game against this team.
Listen, yeah. I was as surprised as anybody that he didn't play better anyway. Like, there's no question. He would be normally better across the board. And which reminds me, if you guys have a question you want to ask and have us answer it, the super chat function over on the YouTube side is the best way to do that. We'll put your name and your question on the screen, give you lots of hype and love, and it really helps us keep the show going. So if you want to do that, please feel free. I see a robust conversation going in the comment section right now.
What are they talking about?
Someone's talking about the Chiefs. I guess that means the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm aware that's the NFL. Am I not mistaken?
Probably. And Wemby's not playing. I guess that's notable.
Wemby is not playing.
No. They're playing right now, yeah.
That's the game on TNT?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, thank God they were able to close it, because I was worried. I didn't want to have to do a live show after a game that ended up being really loose.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was happy that it was close. I wanted to, I usually don't root for teams. I wanted to see the Cavs win. I wanted to see them keep it going.
Yeah. Well, let's see. The Warriors were what? They went 24-0. Is that what it was to start? But you know what? You got to get out of the way at some point, because obviously they're not going to win every game. So, but this was a game that, it's such a weird. It's weird because, when you're down by, what was the biggest margin? Was 18, 20, whatever they were, maybe 20. You got to feel good that you can come back from that, and that's another. There are some positive things, and they were realizing how they can go up against the Celtics again. The one big lineups are going to be probably key for them. And then they got to figure out, if they can get better play out of Garland, but then also if they get the other guys back, but again, once KP comes back, he changes so much, but I don't have a lot of faith that even when he comes back, that he'll stay back.
Yeah. With him is he might stay back, but he might give you one or two great games at the same time that can take you over the hump. That's what happened last year.
And they're deep enough where they can afford to. Listen, if I were,
do you think the Celtics win the championship if Porzingis, let's say, he didn't play the whole playoffs?
No, they might have lost the finals. Remember, Porzingis comes in the game too and changes the entire game, 100%. And that was huge. And then I think, did he break down after that again? I don't think he played, or he played a little bit, but not.
Yeah, I don't think he played again. He might have played.
Was in that game too? I thought was so important for them, and then they were able to ride that to the championship. I don't know if they win. I honestly don't think that they might have pulled that out without him. And they're deep enough where if I were Missoula, I would literally play him 18 minutes a game. Swear to God, play 18, 20 minutes a game. Play him like a run in the first quarter and a run in the second, and 4 minutes, 4 across the game.
I mean, even in the playoffs.
No, I mean the playoffs. Then you got to play him, but I would not risk the regular season at all. Keep him fresh enough, but do not keep him out there any longer. And part of the reason is that his knees. He's got such severe knee valgus where the knees collapse in on each other that it's no wonder to me that he continues to hurt his lower body. It's like he needs to be able to train that, and maybe it's impossible at that length. With his shins are longer than my up to my neck, basically. His knee. And I don't know if you could. I mean, obviously there are ways to train that so your knees don't collapse. They haven't been able to solve that though, and I would hope that someone knows how to do it. But hip flexors, you got to strengthen, band work, all that stuff, and that's what makes me worried, because you can see the biomechanics is just are not there.
Joel has some issues with that as well. He's always very wide.
Okay, but I got to think in my mind's mind picture if I see his knees collapsing like that. I mean, he likes to go down on the floor, and there's that notion that he does it on purpose to save him from landing awkwardly and wrenching his knees.
Like parkour. Like, you know how they roll after?
Right, bouncing off and then, using the floor to slide across. I can get it. I get why people are really upset with him for all that stuff. And then he'll embellish and he'll fake, the down and stuff too, which is really not great either.
Do you think all hope is lost with the Sixers? They got 2 wins.
Yeah, the vibes are not good, man. The vibes are not good. You had Maxey going at Embiid apparently and help, trying to yell at him a little bit, tell him apparently the word on the street is that, he's questionable all day. They don't think he's going to play. And then all of a sudden he shows up an hour before the game and plays. And I
mean, it's been like this since the Ben Simmons days, though. Like, I've heard things like this
late practices.
Yeah, I mean, that's why Jimmy wasn't happy there, or that's why they wouldn't hold guys accountable. And then he probably tried to hold guys accountable, and that didn't end well.
Right, Jimmy. Right, yeah. Jimmy just Embiid gave Jimmy all sorts of love, giving him. They asked him how good he is. He said, "I think the best player in the league." But it is a problem because you have other guys where they're working their butts off, and then you see the star doesn't have to do that. That would be annoying, that'd be frustrating. And then the star isn't playing well on top of that. I guess that was always the thing. When Embiid would bring it, then, people would be willing to deal with that. But, they're losing. He's not playing well either, which also then makes me wonder, why is he playing if he's still so hurt?
Because I feel like unfortunately, I just think he'll always be hurt.
This is as good as it's going to be. Because if this is as good as it's going to be, then he shouldn't be playing anyway, right? This is rough.
I think he could get in better shape for sure, like cardio wise, but body wise, I don't think it's ever going to be 100%. And I've said this probably a million times on this show. He wasn't 100% when he was doing really well against the Knicks.
Right. All right. So you think this is as good as it's going to get? I
think he's so big and he's so skilled that as long as his cardio is okay, he can be pretty good when he's not 100%.
Right.
And I think body wise, he'll never be 100%.
Okay.
Just watch the way he moves. It's like he's hurt. He looks hurt. He's just so skilled though that sometimes he's still productive, So right. Strong, so skilled, so big that he doesn't have to be 100% to drop 30,
Yeah. Yeah. But if they want to get deep in the playoffs, he's got to be somewhere in that area.
He could get to where he was last year in the playoffs. And I don't think that's 100%. And Maxey has to be better and Paul George have to be better. And then that's what they're thinking, I guess, Yeah.
And then the comments, I think, are also amusing that he's trying to get that 65 game minimum to be eligible for stuff. But at this point, it's not worth it. You got to get him healthy. But if that's why he's playing. And listen, by this time, 2 weeks from now, we might all forget this because he's, gotten a little bit better shape. He's gotten his legs underneath him. He's had.
That's how it goes.
Right. But
that's how it goes.
Yeah. But it is interesting how you see how, when you're not winning, all that stuff gets magnified and becomes a bigger problem. And listen, Coach Nurse has his work cut out for him to keep that team together. Meanwhile, I'm in the middle of doing this video on Jared McCain, and I got a pretty spicy title for the video. Would you like to hear it?
Tell me more.
I think it's some version of this. Is this the next Curry?
I see what you're saying though with the movement shooting though. I get it.
Yeah. But because he'll drive and then he'll kick and then he'll replace and get the three. And then he'll become running around the screen and then boom and nail three. So he's been doing a little bit of that. So he's got probably a little more clay maybe in that respect. But he handles the ball and he's really tricky going to the hoop as well, his footwork and stuff. So
you never know. Nobody thought Curry would be Curry, right?
Nobody thought Curry would be Curry.
But the only thing is Curry was averaging 30 in college.
Some people did. I mean, some people would have I think I probably would have wondered why couldn't he do this in the NBA? But then again, in college, he was more like Clay. He was still coming off a lot of pin downs and shooting crazy like that. It wasn't. I got to go through some of Davidson footage. I don't remember him pulling right off the dribble 3 steps inside of the half court like he does in the NBA, right? Maybe
Trae Young was doing more of that.
Yeah,
in college.
So. It's just a question of
Jimmer Fredette was definitely doing that.
Well, that was the problem. They didn't want Jimmer to play that way. They kind of decided that he needed to play a certain role, and Jimmer wasn't really happy with that. I don't necessarily blame him. I would have loved to have seen him in a D'Antoni offense to see if he could have done what Jeremy Lin was doing at the time.
Yeah, I felt he probably could have got his numbers. I just don't feel like it would be a great NBA team if you give him a Harden role,
Yeah, well, okay. So you think that he had the Harden role at BYU?
I think like it would be like a Cam Thomas situation. Like, yeah, he could probably average 27, but are they a good team? You know?
Yeah, I mean that it's conventional wisdom or conventional thinking that I just would have liked to have seen it. I would like to have seen him, spread the floor, have shooters around him, see what he could do to get in and kick, and then get his own threes. I think he could have found. I think he could have found a lot more success than he actually did in the NBA, which was not very much. I
He's
think
a bucket, that's for sure.
Sacramento, he came in right away, and it was Mike Malone who they just sort of decided how he was going to play. Funnily enough, it was also. Isaiah Thomas was on that team as well, and he also, he blossomed in that role that Jimmer didn't get.
Who did?
Isaiah Thomas.
Oh, okay, yeah, with the C's,
with the Kings.
Oh, with the Kings, okay.
Before that, so remember Isaiah Thomas was drafted 60th, and Kyrie was drafted number 1. This was actually what got B-Ball Breakdown on the map. I don't know if you remember. This is a long time ago, or one of the first videos I did where the question was Isaiah Thomas is Isaiah Thomas as good as Kyrie Irving? And I got on that bandwagon early, and everyone was freaking out, trying to discredit me. It was kind of bad, actually. My memory now. There were people trying to dig into my personal life. It was really awful. And guess what? It didn't take very long, and then we realized that Isaiah Thomas was a real one. On par with what Kyrie was doing at the time, if you don't remember. And so that I looked better, but it took me a few months to have that come out.
People want to know why NBA ratings are down. That's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I think that someone also mentioned, the streams. I have to imagine the illegal streams are a big part of it, right?
Well, haven't they always been doing that?
I mean, probably, yeah, but I'm sure it just gets worse and worse as as the developed world gets better internet and stuff like that. It's probably hard to do streaming when you're in a country that doesn't have a lot of high speed, or it's really expensive. You can't afford it, which is why you're going to stream it anyway. So I imagine as that has gotten better over the years, then there's been more of that going on. Yeah.
Do you think LeBron being, I mean, he's not the best player in the league anymore. Jokic is the best player, but us not having a new best player, something fresh, where everybody, I mean, Jokic is the best player, but he's not really marketable. You think that's part of it as well? Yeah.
And by the way, it's not just streaming, right? Because streaming is something, and you're right, it's been around for a long time, but the ratings are definitely down for the way to play. I think that the refereeing has got a lot of people upset, and we spent a lot of time the last 4 years trying to help people understand the rules better so they won't be so upset. On the margins, that's helped a little bit, but there's still stuff about contact that people get really upset about. I think offensive stuff, the Tatum thing. When I posted that, I used the clip where they didn't show the push off because I wanted to show the end where he goes, FOH to Niang, who's guarding him. But people are like, "Oh, you just cut that off because that he pushed off and you wanted to cut that off." I'm like, no, they didn't have it from that angle. I didn't want to have it, a 20-second clip. But the point being that it's they don't process the game the way the refs are, and the refs are really good, and they don't miss those. Like you said, he didn't push off, but that's what gets people upset. I don't want to watch anymmore. You know what I mean?
So I think some people feel like the league is just softer than it used to be.
Yeah,
I feel that way. I mean, there's a lot of tough players in the NBA. I just feel like that's how people feel because partly it's more skillful than ever before.
Right. I agree on that one. I mean, if you really go watch them in the late 80s games, even before the early 90s when it got really physical. The spacing is so bad. The ball
we done with the 90s.
What's that?
We done with the 90s.
You
remember that?
Oh, who said that?
It was a thing that was going on the internet. We done with the 90s, and they would just show bad 90s basketball.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. It's not fun. I mean, that wasn't fun. I'll tell you that. It was really intense. That's something that was epic and it was dramatic and all those Bulls Knicks series, but it was also a grind. And I think from a coach's perspective, there's something more aesthetically pleasing to use a lot of the actions that were going on in the 30s and the 40s, all the handoffs and the backdoor cuts. We used to see it all the time. We're getting that again. And you mix it with all the dribbling and the shooting that they have now. That's exciting. But I agree. I do feel like there were moments we've had in the last couple of years where the referees were letting more contact go to this, on the way to the hoop, a little bit more like a playoff kind of thing in the regular season. And I think that the fans were gravitate toward that more, but it doesn't last. And then it goes back to the way it had been, and it's like a constant struggle. And so I do think that the increase in 3-point shooting does sort of make it appear that like teams are playing a lot of very similar way. Can't really argue with that, right? I mean, everyone's sort of running similar versions of the same offense now.
Yeah, there is redundancy. I feel like Shaq said it recently, but that's the most common take out there, right? Like that's basically what people think well, it's true that teams play similar to each other.
I'll also say this: on any given night, when you look at a multi-game schedule, there's only like one game worth watching. Or two.
That is true. Like some of the League Pass games, even though some people are really interested in like novel League Pass games, that like a Hornets is a good League Pass team, I guess, but a lot of those games are terrible.
Yeah, and you'll get like for instance, it's like I mean, record-wise, you got like the Bulls, Milwaukee. Okay, like that's not a great match to be in Milwaukee.
Well, who's gonna? I mean, how about this game? No Wemby, no Chet, OKC versus Spurs.
Right, and throw that in there too. When invariably there's someone who's not playing, and it makes it less worth watching, right? But you get these like Utah, San Antonio. Although when Wemby's not playing, okay, but San Antonio is one of those good teams you want to watch. But like the other night, I wish I could find it. The other night, like there really wasn't like one. There was 10 games going on, and hardly any of them were worth watching.
And also, the Celtics aren't dominant enough. Like we like teams, even though we say we like parity, we like teams like the '96 Bulls or the Warriors. The Celtics aren't like that.
They're not like that. No. I mean, listen, Jason Tatum had a great game, but he made some plays that were terrible. Sorry. Like terrible, like how do you can't miss that. You can't turn the ball over there. You can't just let the ball go out of bounds. I mean, like if you're supposed to be an MVP candidate, those are plays that you shouldn't really ever see. And he did it like 5 to 6 times. And so, listen, that's probably what's going to hold Tatum back ultimately from being recognized as anybody, other than where he is now. He'll always be behind, the top 4 guys. Right, he'll always be behind Luka and Jokic, and
everybody's down on Luka right now.
Yeah, we talked about that in the last show where his knees openly bleeding. Like I don't know. I just feel like he must be, perhaps he's banged up more than we know. I mean,
how about the gap between Jokic and the rest of the league? That's widening.
Yeah, maybe that's the next video. I mean, does anybody want to watch the Jared McCain video? Like I got like some of it prepped, but like I don't know. I'm feeling like maybe I don't want to do it right now.
I mean, you got to follow your heart, Coach Nick. What are you most interested in doing?
I what happened was I was kind of excited about it in the very, very beginning because I saw some of the good clips, and then then you go through 150 and you're like, okay, he's a rookie.
Make it a short video.
Yeah, well, that's another thing that's weird. Short videos don't do well at all. People see like
really?
5-minute length or 4-minute length, and they're like, eh. So it's got to be a nice solid video, but maybe maybe a nice. How about maybe a nice Jokic video, and then I'll do the McCain video. It'd be nice if McCain had another huge game. Did he play what they played? He played actually pretty well last night, I think, right? What was it? Where was it? He had 20-something, 22 last night, I believe. 20 points led the team. But they got hammered.
Have you talked to ChatGPT about what your next video should be?
I tried Grok. I tried ChatGPT? I can't remember. But yeah, it's not actually that bad, but it's not great. So
I got you right now. I'll tell you what
video. All right. We have our first super chat from Awful Coaching. All right. Awful Coaching wants to continue his war on drop coverage. It's killed the NBA. I mean, listen, drop coverage started really being played right when I started B-Ball Breakdown. And so if you watch my early videos, you would sound, some of the concepts that you hear Awful Coaching railing about would sound similar, which is why it's weird because we've now had 15 years of the data to look at this and realize that drop coverage actually helps you because you don't have to over-rotate when you drop if you do it properly, right? So now, if his point is that it's just changed the style of play offensively, that's interesting, I suppose. But all I can tell you is that when you watch hedging, invariably, half the time, the hedging guy will get in the way of his own man and screen him who's trying to desperately get back to the ball. It's very frustrating. You know, I'm
Well,
sure that's probably happened to you, Combo, when you played and the big is hedged and then you run into him.
Yeah.
So I can't stand watching that.
Well, the only good thing about job coverage, it's kept some mid-range in the modern game.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
That's like the only time somebody takes a mid-range shot. Like
Right.
we don't take spot up mid-range shots anymore.
Right. And also, when you hedge, what we discovered was like, awful coaching. Just go back and watch the Heat versus the Spurs in 2014, because they were hedging and trying to trap, and that's when the short roll really became into vogue. And it just was a 3-on-2 every time. Every time you tried to do that, 3-on-2 is like you couldn't stop it, and then they won in 4. They swept them or whatever. So that's not okay. Certainly in the NBA level, it's not okay. If you want to like a team in high school, you can still hedge, you can still blast, you can do all that stuff because the players are not as good at the ball.
Well, do you know exactly what he means by the awfulness of job coverage?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's been a little while since I've seen some of the videos, but he says it in every one of his videos. The awfulness would probably be that. I mean, I know from what I heard from him is that he wants the guy to hedge. He wants them to get up there and stop the guy from turning the corner. I suppose he thinks that keeping the ball walled off above the 3-point line is good, which that concept isn't bad. It's just that when you start hitting the short roll,
then
you're dead.
Yeah, I mean, no, then the bottom guy has to tag, right?
Yeah, they get open threes in the corner.
Yeah, open threes in the corner. Yeah.
By the way, just watch the Celtics offense tonight. That's what they were doing. A lot of they were trying to blast the ball handler, and they were hitting the short roll. So, when the team is prepared for that and good, it's like it's not a real viable strategy, especially because you said you can lure the ball handler into the mid range. That's what you want to do, and as long as the guy's good at being able to backpedal and then not let the roller get underneath him. You get. I think the numbers would simply bear out that in the long run, you get a lot better results from dropping than you do from hedging or blasting or anything else.
I think different is good, right?
Yeah. Now switching. Well, we can talk about switching for a little while if you like. That's another really good viable thing. And then what we didn't see was when they were trying to attack Garland. Kenny was not going to the thing where you could get Garland out of there before his man gets the ball screen. So you're almost like zoning the whole thing up. Switch. Someone else is better to be the guy than to switch it.
Switching might be dangerous versus Cleveland with Garland and Mitchell.
Well, I mean the other way around. I mean Cleveland playing defense against the Celtics. Now you could argue that switching could be dangerous against the Celtics too. But they have a lot of if you were to get Garland scrambling out of there and have a Okoro, let's say, was in there, suddenly they switch and now Okoro's guarding Tatum. Like that's okay. They're not losing much there. So
I think also different is good, like mixing it up, giving the team different looks. I remember Spo used to go zone sometimes even, I think different looks is good.
They went zone a little bit. They got beat. Like I believe they went zone on an out of bounds play and they let Tatum hit a wide open 3. Like they weren't, I think 3 guys were in zone and 2 guys were in a man. So that was really embarrassing. They had a couple of those where just like no one was guarding.
The good old triangle in 2?
Yeah, something like that. But not when, you all have to know you're in triangle in 2, I think. That's the problem. And we know that Kenny loves to play zone, and I'm surprised they didn't play a lot of zone tonight. I didn't see it.
Have you ever seen box and 1 in the NBA?
Yeah, Nick Nurse did that against Steph Curry in the finals.
Right, that's right.
But not a lot. Wait till you see Chase defense in the NBA.
Okay.
You know what Chase defense is, right?
Yes, Coach Nick.
Okay, I don't know.
The reason why you came and recorded a show here was because of Chase defense. You went to a local college in New York, and
that's right. Oh, that's right. That's right. You're right. All right. We have another super chat. Buzzer beater. Great to see you. Thank you, Buzzer beater. Really appreciate it. Should a team help 1 or 2 passes away?
Never won.
Well, okay, you can do 1 off of a non-shooter, right? So let's make that clear.
I mean, in the NBA, that's tough to help 1 pass away, I think.
Right, but again, it's okay if it's off a non-shooter, and there are some out there, guys. They're not going to hit it. But you're like, but I think your point is also good, where even a bad shooter, like you let him a wide open catch and shoot,
Right. I mean, he could make a quick decision. He could drive to the basket. It's like it gives you no time to recover at all. Yeah. A lot of times the help 1 pass away is needless as well. Like they're coming over in a weird angle. You're not really helping anyway. I mean, sometimes you are because if it's a drive from the top, but for the most part, if you don't rotate from the weak side, that you're going to give up threes, and good luck with that. It's like that's why I think you're going to see defenses like pack line disappear, because they want you in basically help 1 pass away early,
And it's just too easy to drive at the guy, one dribble, freeze him, and then kick it to his man and wide open for threes. You know, we've seen teams like Virginia get hammered in the first round. It's the number 1 seed in the tournament from that. So 2 passes away, great. Help.
No, two passes away makes sense, but 1 pass away is what you see in bad basketball, and then it's even worse when they can't make the team pay for playing one pass away.
And I'm gonna have to get out the old shell drill on Thursday when I go back to work with my high school team, because I feel like there's been a movement away from shell drill to drill this, but sometimes
shell drill was so boring.
It's boring. Well, it doesn't really simulate the game, right? Because the offensive players don't move. But I always add that in my show.
You could add like 1 dribble, then you could add 2 dribble, then you could play live. Yeah.
Then I'll point to like somebody, like, you know, I'll be under the basket and I point, and then you have to cut. But invariably, the offensive players, they forget to look at me. I'm like pointing. Like I have nightmares of this. So eventually, they kind of learn how to focus and play the way we need them to. But you know, all the little things you don't realize as a coach. Oh, sure, you just point, they'll cut, right? The guy's looking at the ball, he's looking whatever. He's not, you know, you point at him, he doesn't know what you mean. But again, when you start doing that, then you start simulating the game. Yeah, and then you can get into it live and have it translate. And then you can work on your X outs, you can work on all those different rotations and the tags. You know, it's layers. You got to go. And so obviously for me, the first layer tends to be, you know, a nice shell drill to kind of get it moving. You know, can help.
Well, no middle. Thanks for the super chat, Buzzer Beater. Yeah. We appreciate you.
And no middle is another big one where you see, you know, when the teams are good defensively, they'll force you to the baseline no matter what. You let the guys go in the middle and they turn into all-stars, you know, when they're not. It's crazy.
This is true.
All right. Why is the Wingstop commercial back? It's a good one. It's a banger, man. You know the Wingstop, right? No flex zone.
Yeah, it's okay.
What are they trying to say? What does it mean in that context? No flex.
It's a song. No flex zone. No flex zone.
But what are they trying to say?
Don't know. Maybe
no flex, like no flex.
And
know. Then, or they no flex offense, and then they want you to play zone defense. I don't know. It's like it's mixing things, and I can't quite figure it out. I'll let you know.
So the Lakers got like 5 in a row, right? 4 in a row.
Yeah, their record all of a sudden they're third in the conference. Like what? Crazy. And let's look at who they beat real quick, because I feel like that might give us some insight. They've won 5 in a row. They beat the Sixers at home, the Raptors at home, the Grizzlies at home. That was a good game, by the way.
I mean, like they're beating the teams they're supposed to beat. That's good,
right? They beat the Spurs in San Antonio, you know, and then they beat the Pelicans in New Orleans. So, you know, there really isn't quite a real quality win, but they're going to play like Denver, who's not playing great, but they're going to play Denver at home coming up. They got Phoenix, but it's probably no KD in the in-season tournament. They got the Thunder. That's probably the real big game on the 29th after Thanksgiving.
I mean, they could play bully ball with no Chet, with Chet. Yeah.
So we're gonna have to kind of reserve our judgment on the Lakers until they play that OKC game.
Okay.
Which is coming up soon.
Maybe we go. If it's early, we could go live. Maybe.
Oh well, let's see. It would be at. They would play OKC on the 29th at 10 p.m. It's late. It's a late game. It's here in LA. And
10 p.m. It's 10 p.m. your time.
No, 10 p.m. your time.
Oh, I was about to say.
But why does it say 10 p.m.? I guess. Well, obviously it's got to be 7 p.m. I guess B-ball ref doesn't flip the time zone.
Okay. All right.
Well, I guess I think that was good. I think we covered what we needed to cover. Anything else of the game that we didn't mention? Should I break down the game and do a video tomorrow?
Up to you.
All right. Maybe I'll just do that as a quickie.
I don't think that's a bad idea.
I mean, it ended up being a pretty good game, and we talk about what.
I'm trying to think in my head. Like, I'm trying to think in my head what would be the best video possible.
Right. About this game or about anything?
About anything. I had a few. I forgot. I thought. You know, I told you a few last time. I forgot what they were.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I got to consider is that the verb to flex essentially has one of two meanings. It can mean to show off, to gloat, or boast. Right. Okay, I got that. That makes sense. But then what does zone mean? Raymond thinks I should do the video. Buzzer Beater wants to know which video of yours shows chase defense. There's 2. So you can just go B-ball breakdown, chase defense, and they'll come up. I guess I can give you the link in the right here. Let me do that if you want. Should I just put in the link in the
sure.
the comments? I think that'll
Sure.
work. Are links live in the comments? I don't know. Do you know?
Oh, okay. I get Amp says, don't come around here blasting your music and wearing your chain. Okay. Don't flex around here, basically.
Yeah.
Don't show off. Don't flex around here. I got it.
I like that. And then here's the other one. Let's see if this works. I guess I don't know if it's going to work. Maybe. But look up Chase defense and D-ball breakdown, and it'll come up. Those are the two. Knicks and Wolves. That's would be an interesting video about the trade itself.
Yeah. That's always interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I got.
How about
Celtics videos can always do well.
I did this today that people were interested in, but it was obviously short form content. Is Cooper Flag a generational talent?
Ooh, yeah, I got to do that one.
Yeah,
I think he will be. What did you say?
Well, Trey Edwards of Count the Dings. He thought he's more of like a secondary star. A guy that could be like, be like that guy right next to like a really great generational player, and he'd be great, and he's going to be good right away, and he's going to play for a long time.
Okay, I agree.
But,
I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be like a point forward, and I love. Hopefully, as the jump shot continues to develop, I got to look at what it looks like right now. But I saw some video in practice against Team USA that was like, whoa. And I heard,
yeah. I mean, the scrimmage, yeah, he was cooking. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I heard even just in the practice that no one saw, that, he was killing them.
It showed in the one we did saw. So yeah.
Also, I can, that would be another one to do. Maybe maybe this first big game for Duke, I can do.
Who's the Knicks' best player, or something like that?
The Knicks' best player?
Yeah.
Who is it? You mean Brunson or Cat?
Or maybe somebody else.
Does Cooper Flag remind me of Pau Gasol? I don't think so.
No, more of a wing.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's good.
Good stuff. We'll be back again on Monday, at the very least, and we'll go from there. But thank you everybody for the super chats. Thank you, Combo, for staying up late with us and everyone else. And we'll get back to the rest of the games. Let's see. Well, real quickly, what do the scores look like? What are we missing right now, Combo? We are missing the second game on TNT. Nuggets, Grizzlies. Oh, Nuggets are up 10 with 5 minutes to go. So that's interesting. That'd be a nice win for the Nuggets in the road. And the Mavericks are hammering the Pelicans. Now, I don't know if Luka is playing, right? And then the Thunder up by 7 over the Spurs. And then we saw the Cavaliers. So, all right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel. We're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Combo?
Yes, sir.